Today from Max Boot at the Washington Post, Republicans are becoming the QAnon party. Interesting. That headline may get this video just totally shut down. You may end up seeing it. I don't know. Let's hope that you see it. So at this point, I know it's early in the video, but if you could, share it somewhere so that it gets out. Like it, so the same. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then let's move on. This says from Max Boot. Today at 2:40, it says, on Tuesday, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a racist conspiracy monger, won a Republican primary in Georgia that will almost certainly result in her winning a congressional seat in a deep red district. The same day, Representative, definitely not a Republican, Representative Ilhan Omar, a Democrat notorious for anti-Zionist and even anti-Semitic statements, how about anti-American statements, nonetheless, beat back a well-funded challenger to win her primary in a blue district in Minnesota. By juxtaposing these election outcomes, the media can give the impression, wittingly or not, that both major parties are in the grips of extremists. Well, I don't know. How do you define that? We're all full of definitions in the Q community. Let's just read on. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay. Democrats have the far left under control, while Republicans are being controlled by the far right. Okay, well, Washington Post, you're in trouble. You're spewing conspiracies because there's no way you can claim that Democrats have the far left under control. I mean, about Portland? Under control? Seattle under control? Mayor of Minneapolis being booed and threatened and told to go home? Under control? Give me a break. Greene and Omar actually have little in common. The Somali-born member of Congress has gotten into trouble for backing anti-Israel boycotts, divestment and sanctions, so the BDS movement, for suggesting that Jewish money controls all of Congress. It's all about the Benjamins, referring to Benjamin Netanyahu. And by the way, Bibi does not control all of Congress. You're giving him far too much credit. When he said that, by the way, he wasn't lying. Being cheeky, but he wasn't lying. But she has apologized. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, I don't believe so. I don't believe she apologized. Well, let's read on. Greene, by contrast, is unrepentant for her racism and conspiracy mongering. She has falsely claimed, well, let's read on. Before we say that it's false, let's just note what she's claiming. That George Soros, a liberal Jewish financier, is, quote, a Nazi himself trying to continue what was not finished, unquote. She has described the election of Omar and another Muslim woman to Congress, Rashida Tlaib, as an Islamic invasion of our government, end quote. She has suggested that, quote, the most mistreated group of people in the United States today are white males, unquote. All three true statements. Now, she is saying, I don't know why they're claiming that this is racism or conspiracy mongering. The first one saying that George Soros is both a liberal, if you want to say leftist. He is Jewish as far as his ethno-nationality. His ethnicity is Jewish. He has Jewish heritage. He joined the Nazi party and sold out the Jews that he knew. That's how he became wealthy. So he is a Nazi himself. And as far as saying trying to continue what was not finished, if you consider the Nazi party dominating the world through a one world government, and under any name, they don't care, well, then he is trying to do that. He's doing that through the left right now. So that's number one. That's correct. She described the election of Omar and Rashida Tlaib to Congress as an Islamic invasion of our government. If you can consider who's backing them, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, and others donating to have them become elected, what else do you call it? Washington Post? I mean, this isn't even do your job. This is just, hey, plug your brain in. The next one, she has suggested that, quote, the most mistreated group of people in the United States today are white males. Well, take into consideration that all throughout history, you can claim correctly that the most mistreated group of people was anything but a white male. But today, if every protective class, every protected group, every delineation from what you would say is the majority, that way you can claim something is a minority. A woman is a minority. No, they're not, though. They're actually literally not. You can say the black males are the minority. Well, they are a minority. You can say that white men are a minority. That's also true. But they're not seen that way. And for that reason, you can't claim, hey, I need special privilege because I'm a white male. That's literally the opposite of what happens. You get special privilege so long as you're not a white male. And it scales down from there. We all know this. If you're a white woman, you're like one notch below. And then if you are a non-white woman, you are one notch below that. And then the men go below the women because, of course, there's the patriarchy we got to fight. All of which are not conspiracies. Remember, they're saying that this woman is a racist and a conspiracy monger, but when you break down what she's actually saying, none of those things are true, and the Washington Post is themselves smearing her. And I'd be surprised if she wins her election, that she doesn't say, hey, Washington Post, I'd like a retraction or a correction here. It says, if that weren't bad enough, Green is also a supporter of QAnon. Oh, no! Well, this is a cult, they say, which has been linked to acts of violence. Remember, they said that the QAnon supporting group is led by the guy who went and shot the pizza parlor, the Comet Pizza thing. In 2016, they say this guy is also a supporter of Q. This is all related. Give me a break. 2016, the shooting happens. 2017, Q starts, and they say they're related. Believes that the President Trump is fighting a secret clique of deep state child molesters. Well, hey, Washington Post got one right. Look at that. Green said in a video, quote, there's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take this global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles out. And I think we have the president to do it. So, wait, so her opinion is that she believes there are Satan worshipers, which is true. You know, the media uses the satanic panic as a means of covering. Right, they create a psyop. The fake little weird, devil-looking guy, the guy who was on all the daytime talk shows saying he was a Satanist and his eyebrows pointed out. And he recently died, actually. Odd. He could be described as a psyop, where the intelligence community says, hey, we, in some part, are funding and operating and, actually supporting the satanic worship and pedophilia within the deep state. So we need to create a false operation so that the people see it. And then they'll see that, kind of the false puppet bait you lie in front of the real thing, as a means of desensitization. That's one. And the second is misdirection. People think of Satanism as that guy from the talk show. They don't think of Satanism as Hillary Clinton murdering a chicken, sacrificing a chicken to Moloch in her backyard that night, in the dead of night. An email to Marina Abramovich. So anyways, just some things to be interested in. There's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take this global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles out, and I think we have the president to do it. That's her opinion. She's allowed to have her opinion. But you got to remember, this is the Washington Post doing a little smear job. So again, if she wins this election, you'd be surprised that she wouldn't come back to them and say, hey, I'd like to have a word. It goes on. From some Republican members of Congress have denounced Green for her disgusting comments. Well, I wonder who those Republicans were. I'd be interested to find out exactly who they were, because they would be outing themselves as being pro-Satanism, pro-pedophilia. But the House Minority Leader himself, Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, didn't lift a finger to block the election. Of course not, because, hello, winning. Trump welcomed her win. Yeah, duh. He called her a future Republican star. Well, good. Who is, quote, strong on everything and never gives up. A real winner. In all caps, no less. Okay, so why wouldn't Trump welcome this QAnon wing, and why shouldn't he welcome his QAnon wingnut into his party? She fits right in, they say. Media Matters. Oh, good. I'm glad that we're bringing Media Matters into this. Found that 53 congressional candidates, 53, baby, have promoted QAnon this year. Besides Green, they include Lauren Boebert, who defeated a Republican incumbent in Colorado, Jo Ray Perkins, you know her in Oregon. NBC News wasn't kidding when it suggested Congress would soon have a QAnon caucus. Well, good. Good. Freaking good. 2020, they were like, oh, this is the finale. This is the climax. No, baby. No. You have a movie with, 3 major acts. And we're kind of in the climax of Act 2. Act 3 is where the popcorn is going to be super buttery and so salty. Oh, and by the way, salty. Thank you to the Salty Army, to anyone here watching from the Salty Army. Thank you. Appreciate that. Go check out Salty Cracker if you don't know what the heck that I'm talking about. Moving on. We'll have a QAnon caucus. When the Republican Party was under assault, they say, from the conspiracy-minded John Birch Society of the 1960s, responsible conservatives such as Nixon and Buckley marginalized them. Well, that isn't happening today. Well, it's because your president is not a crook. For real, this time. Trump has regularly retweeted QAnon accounts. His son Eric Trump, posts a giant Q, as well as the slogan, where we go one, we go all, on his Instagram account. Hello! Donald Trump Jr. has echoed this group's deranged claims that Joe Biden's a pedophile. Hello, wait, that's not a deranged claim at this point. We know Joe Biden's a pedophile. The older he gets and the slipperier he gets with his hands and his face and his sniffing and everything else, we can see he's just sniffing kids for anyways, go check out Joe Biden montage sniffing kids. Come on back in an hour when you're done watching the only first video you did watch. The president might not be full-fledged Q adherent, but he is a racist and a conspiracy monger in his own right. Okay, now, I understand this is an opinion, so the worst that can happen is someone's asked to retract it because it's slanderous or libelous or something like that, and then you'd have to prove, malicious intent, and you'd have to prove that, there were losses made, so it's not going to happen. That's the end-all, be-all. Don't put it in the comments. Don't at me and say, oh, they're never going to retract this. I understand. I'm just saying I really think that they ought to, because this just calls the president now a racist as well and a conspiracy monger. And I understand that they've done that for years, but it's just interesting to see it so blatant in the QAnon posts, in the article about it. Man, they're tying everything to this. They're bringing up everybody. They say the conspiracy theory that he promoted, Joe Scarborough's a murderer. True. Former President Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. True, because we have his birth certificate from Kenya. We have his family members saying he was born in Kenya, and you only have a makeup birth certificate from Hawaii saying we had one originally. How obvious does that need to be? Well, especially when you have him on record saying, in my native home of Kenya, or when they say I'll be the first president from Kenya. He talked about it in so many different speeches that it's really hard to hide. Go check that out and come back in an hour when you're done watching those videos. It will take you that long. How about when Senator Ted Cruz's father killed John F. Kennedy? Who knows? Who's Ted Cruz's real dad? That's who I want to know. Is Ted Cruz a deep state sleeper? Was he a deep state guy the whole time and Trump just busted him, called him and said, hey, you're now working for me. Think of there being a metaphorical, invisible gun to the back of your head at all times. And if you do the wrong thing or you step out of line or you don't support something I say, you're done for and I'll out you. Who knows? Who knows how many people have that happening to them right now, where they are now being actors played out in the world stage. Who knows? Well, Q knows. That's what they're so mad about, because it says they're all nutty. They're all nutty ones promulgated by QAnon. This is all a nutty conspiracy. And Trump is appointing officials with similarly noxious beliefs, they say. His choice for the senior Pentagon post said that Obama is a sleeper agent for Hamas. Not really a sleeper agent. Alaouid bin Talal does not pay for your home, your education, everything. Give you $40 million for nothing. He would only give you that. Look, I've not spoken with Mr. Alaouid bin Talal, but I would imagine if Mr. Alaouid bin Talal is around right now to answer any questions, he would explain to you that he doesn't just give that kind of money away for free. He has things on you, and he does those things for you because you're going to do something for him. What do you think Obama did for him, sending billions of dollars in cash overseas and hundreds of billions in wires to Iran and other places? For Hamas, maybe. For Hezbollah, do you think? So that they can, invade our Congress by funding congressional candidates locally. The other two candidates that we just mentioned earlier, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Go on. His choice for the ambassador to Germany, well, Rick, we love you, buddy. Stay good. Said that the country has been overrun by Muslim invaders. True. And his choice to run the Office of Personnel Management said Hillary Clinton campaign manager John Podesta took part in satanic rituals. Well, again, true. We know that. It's in the emails. And they don't exactly hide it. I mean, it's in the art in their apartments. It's very clear that they're into some dirty stuff. Children's stuff. Trump's first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, even pledged allegiance to QAnon. Again, no, he didn't. He pledged the oath, which is the oath of office, and he says that is his pledge again to serve America, the Constitution, and to the flag. That's what that is. If you're going to say he pledged his allegiance to QAnon, you're just lying, because you know that's not what he did. Literally watch the post that he made where he doesn't say pledge allegiance to QAnon at all. He says take the oath. And if you look up what the oath is, you will see what he's referring to. It has nothing to do with QAnon directly. Trump is also becoming increasingly blatant in his appeals to white bigots. Oh, well, I'm good. I'm glad that if a person is white and they don't agree with you, then they're the bigot. He tweeted on Wednesday that the suburban housewife will be voting for me because under a Biden presidency, low-income housing would invade their neighborhood. That's true. He doesn't mean that people from low-income housing will invade your neighborhood. What he means is they'll take away protections of suburbs that stop low-income multifamily housing from building there. And he'll say, hey, that park that was really nice for all the people that lived in this nice gated community right nearby, rip the park out. We're going to put in a giant multiplex with 2 different apartment buildings inside. And it's all going to be Section 8. You're welcome, families that live in the gated community right next door. They're now going to get literally over. I mean, you think about how many people run cars at night where they go through and they ransack cars for cash and the electronics, things they can sell. Well, your home just went down in value because a shit property just went up where a bunch of, honestly, kind of low life people live. I mean, the people that tend to live long term in low income housing aren't trying to get out. And going forward in this country, by the way, that will certainly be the case. You won't be poor long because this country is going to afford so many more opportunities than it ever has because you're about to take the governor off, so to speak. Under Trump, the GOP has become the party of white nationalists, the conspiracy mongers. Well, I don't think that's fair to say, but continue. I had feared that the Republicans' swing to the far right would lead the Democrats to go to the far left, and Senator Bernie's brief run as the Democratic frontrunner has confirmed my concerns. But the ticket now of Joe Biden and Senator Harris is as mainstream and moderate as you can get. Trump and company can elbow all day and long about how they are lackeys for Sanders and the squad, but it's simply not credible. Like this article. The Republican Party, by contrast, isn't just catering to extremists, it's led by one. So wait, it went from, well, the party is controlled by white right-wing activists and far-right extremists. Now it's actually just being completely catered to and led by an actual terrorist, essentially, is what they're saying. What do you think that means? Because again, when you know the news is fake, and they tell you to think of it in terms of a mirror, what the news is telling you is exactly the opposite of what they want you to believe. So what would that be? That the other party is a terrorist organization or being led by one or being dragged around by one? Imagine you create a giant, bulking, communist Marxist dog on a leash, and then you're a frail old white man and can't control it, and that dog starts yanking you around all over on this walk that you're on, and you think you're having a nice time because you're senile. You don't understand that this thing is biting and attacking everyone in the neighborhood. That is seriously what you have on the left ticket now. The Democrat ticket has been blown up. So this is all they can do now, is to smear the Republican tickets. All across the country, if you are running as a Republican, going into November, they are going to tell everyone, hey, beware of the Republicans. You better look up and see if they ever supported anything that QAnon's ever posted. So they will say, hey, you better go and make sure that your congressional representative didn't say trust the plan or the storm is upon us. You better go and look at their Twitter and make sure they never retweeted anything from Into the Matrix. You better make sure that they never posted anything that says the Great Awakening, because then they're evil. Seriously. You better go check that out. Make sure that your Republican leaders aren't supporting QAnon because they don't want you to know. Anyways, that's it. Like this video because it'll help. Comment on the video because I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this in particular. And then subscribe to the channel because you'd help keep America